one of arguably like the best seasons of a receiver all time. You win a Super Bowl, you're the Super Bowl MVP. That year, the sacrifices that were made off the field at home. I wasn't sleeping, you weren't sleeping. Cypress, our middle son, wasn't sleeping. He was young, obviously, under 1, but there was so much outside of the football field that was going on in our life.
At the end of the day, you're still a husband, you're still a dad.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
those things don't stop. And here we are. This is a daily grind. This is an opportunity for us to sit down and really have, I think, some meaningful conversations. Some conversations that really like that we have driving in the car. The times that we get to have together, which are very far and few between in the craziness of our lives. But I think being intentful with those conversations and like, man, we have had some very serious conversations and been like
intentional
conversations and been like, man, there's some good stuff there that like I think was very meaningful to us and stuff that we've kind of built upon and have built our lives on
and want to share.
I think and not be able to not having a platform to share those things on Twitter. That doesn't exist anymore. On X or on Instagram and be like, man, this is something that we maybe want to put a few more words to, a little more thought to, and all of a sudden we launch a coffee shop. And here we are launching a coffee shop. And what better opportunity to do this piece and go and launch a podcast around the launch of our coffee shop, which we love coffee. We love shopping.
We love good conversation around coffee. Intentional conversation that has substance.
Yes.
Just like coffee has to have substance.
Yeah.
Or it's just caffeine.
It's a metaphor. The essence of why we call this thing daily grind, right? It's like the balance of...
Forgot the essence.
Forgot the essence.
Of the podcast.
We were just there. The essence of the cones. Okay. It's another Parks and Rec for you. But really, okay, so the daily grind. It's really, I think we talk about this a lot as well. Often in the mornings, and the glance that we share as we drink our coffee is, here we go. It's not about getting through today. It's making the most of today. And I think that grind, the attitude and the intention you take through that day, knowing that you are in it.
Yeah.
That we all are in it. The great connector, parenting. Even those of you that aren't parents, you're probably grinding. You just don't know that there's more that you can grind. Levels.
And if you're not parenting, you might be being parented. So just keep that in mind too.
Yeah. So I think that's the other part of this, is sharing some of those ways that I think we take that mindset shift of, we're not trying to get through today. We're trying to thrive. We want to be there for our boys and not feel like we're just kind of surviving with our boys, but we're giving them an opportunity to grow into what they're going to be, the men of God that we have been, given this responsibility to raise them up into. And having that intention behind each day, I think, is a big part of that. So there's the catalyst for the daily grind and why we're doing what we're doing and sitting here at this table talking to you right now. Cortisol conniptions.
I didn't know you named it that.
I did.
But I like it.
Alliteration. It's a good thing to use when you're doing writing.
You love an alliteration.
I do.
Cooper is a poet, and you wouldn't even know it.
Nice. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say it if you didn't.
He actually is, though. It's kind of crazy, some of the poetry that comes from your brain. I just don't even...
It's good. We have some written down. I don't know if they'll make it onto the vodcast, but maybe in a book someday.
Yeah.
Shel Silverstein. Cooper Kupp down here, but it'll still be good.
Would you use your name?
No.
What would your name be?
The first thing that comes to mind is my alias, which I don't want to use. No, I will use it. No, I'm not going to use it.
Don't use it. Okay.
Moving on.
Cortisol conniptions.
Yes.
Finding balance in the chaos. How do we do it? We have a lot of chaos.
Hope and a prayer.
We live amidst. We live amidst.
Amidst. In the midst.
We live in the midst.
Among the midst of craziness. And I'll say this, like, we have great boys. Our boys are incredible, and I think there's the amount of times that we in the middle of the day will be like, wow, we are just feel so incredibly blessed by our family, and what we get to, the love that we get to share in our home is really special. And I think, the times that it gets really wild is really during the season.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going solo dolo, and I'm gone until dinner time, sometimes after dinner time.
Yeah.
That's the only time we get. That is when I think, for us, finding balance in those places where we aren't both just burning out and are able to keep the priorities just where they need to be, right? I mean, faith, family, friends, football, and we are at our best in every one of those areas when there's balance in those areas, and that when each of those in order is in the right place.
Yeah. And I think during the season, things do get out of balance a little bit because there's such a huge focus on football, which it needs to be, because that is your job, and that is, the things that are asked of you. They do create an imbalance, but having grace and being able to understand that, like, during the season there is an imbalance, and allowing room and flexibility and grace for each other, for the kids, because I mean, when kids have connection, that's when they're balanced, that's when they're regulated. When there's not connection and balance, dysregulation happens, which is fine. There's going to be that. So being able to walk through seasons of imbalance.
Yes. Where there's especially like time imbalance.
Yes,
where it's
exactly.
Like forced time imbalance.
Exactly.
And then there's really the shift to the time we have together, what that looks like, the time with our boys.
Yes.
Specifically me when I'm gone as much as I am, and so I think touching on some of the ways that we balance those things. And I think, one of the things that I had written down about just the, finding balance, I think the go lifestyle in general is, so much is told that you have to be pedal down going. There's also, I think, this like false narrative out there that's come up, which I think it has the right intentions about finding, whatever, what's the word that's not going to offend people. Who cares? Like that's going to be, I don't want to say mindfulness, but like more time for yourself. Take time for yourself and do things for you, which I don't think is a bad thing, right? But like, I think there's like this difference between stepping out and saying, I'm going to not do anything because it's not healthy for me. Yeah. I'm not going to work and go do stuff. It's not like I'm like the gas pedal thing and flipping so far to the other side. Yeah. That you find there's
that self-care is
it's imbalance. It was really what it is. And we talk about this imbalance of time and being able to go, well, how can we be in balance with each other, and how can we be intentional with our time together? And I think for us there's times I think during the season, something that we do is just be still. Like our intentional time together is sometimes just being still. And some people, I think, see that as what?
I was just in my mind imagining us just like laying.
But I will say this. Yeah, we're definitely like laying there, and yes, but this is what I was gonna say. I think some of our best conversations, some of the things that we've done, where we are literally just laying down on the couch, maybe for like 30 minutes at the end of the day, is there is stillness, and I think finding stillness is an important thing for people to do. And I think we'll touch on some things like during this season that we do with this. But like stillness to me is very different than being stagnant.
Totally.
Right. And stillness is, stillness is intentful. Stillness is having a focus. Stillness is having a purpose. When we are doing something together, when we have stillness together, we're purposeful in like the stillness, right? Stagnancy is when none of those things are there. When there isn't an intent, when there isn't a focus, when there isn't a purpose behind it, And I think that's where things get messed up, is when people like zone out into their phone and death scroll to the bitter end, versus like the times that we sit there, and it might even really be like in the dark because we want to turn the lights on because we want to be able to go to sleep, and it's just being able to talk.
Yeah.
And it might not be talking for 30 minutes straight. It's just like what's on your mind and what's been going on today. And maybe you're reading, whatever it is, but like those moments and being able to be something you said before, being alone
together,
is like I think it's a beautiful thing when you can get to that place and you have someone that you can do that with.
Oh, it's one of my personal favorite things.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially during the season when I am solo, I am giving so much and the output is so high for emotional regulation and like just conversation. Our 5-year-olds, the why right now, like that's the season that we're in, of like everything, every answer that you give, there's like a million questions that come after it.
Yes.
And it's just exhausting on that level. And being able to sit with you and just be. And if we need to like vent or get stuff off, we can do that, and then just be together and like absorb each other's energy and just like sit and marinate in that. Like that's like such a gift to me.
Yeah. And it is to me as well, because in the same way that my stimulation during the day is different.
Yeah.
But being able to get to that place where we get to connect with each other and being still with each other is it is a very powerful thing. I think that's been a pillar in our marriage.
Yeah.
I think to talk about during the season and all this stuff, like football specifically pushes so much of this mindset of like it has to be football. When football season is here, there is no time for anything else. And guess what? Who else thinks that? Is the fans also believe that life needs to be football. If you're not doing football, it's a problem, right? But I know that it's impossible and that you will probably die if you tried to do that, But there's this thing that's like, I think of like coaches. I mean, you've talked to the coaches' wives. I know what the coach's life is like during the season.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that I have completely ex-nayed a coaching job for you after football is done, because of the time that these men and women give to their like jobs. There's zero room for anything else. Granted, there are some who are able to find a balance, which is incredible and commendable, because it is such a huge time commitment, even more so than players.
Yeah, because I think
time away from family.
Coach, it is taught in the the Bible for coaches was written by Bill Walsh, and I remember reading. I read the book because I was I'm a football junkie.
Yeah.
Not because I'm going to get into coaching though. I didn't read because of that.
You can consult. I am on board for that.
I'm not even thinking about it right now. I'm playing ball. But the whole thing of like, it starts off basically by him giving this like talking about to this group of people about how if you're not like if you're not like in a bad place with your family, if your wife's not upset with you, if you're like not able to see your kids, if you're not like stressing out, unable to sleep, if you're not in this place,
if your cortisol isn't just through the roof,
connipting, then you're not committed enough. Is how it basically starts off. Like if this isn't you,
it's healthy.
If this isn't you, it's basically start off. He was talking to like a
if
business.
You're not on the brink of a heart attack.
That's literally what it is. He starts off by saying, if this isn't you, then you're not doing it right. You know, and so, but this is the Bible. This is the Bible for coaches.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a ton of respect for Bill Walsh and what he did as a coach, what he did for the organization. You can beep that out, actually. Also, the part that will always be a beeped part as well. We don't talk about them, but what he did and what his like commitment and what he innovated for football in general was incredible. So much respect for him. I couldn't have disagreed more in his philosophy and
he got there.
How he challenged people to get there, what it takes to get there. And I think that's a good thing to talk about is like coaches are taught that and players are taught this too. Like you need to sacrifice your soul for success. If you're going to succeed, that's just what it's going to be. And I couldn't disagree more with that in terms of who I know that I am as a football player when everything else is in alignment. When my priorities go faith, family, friends, football, when that is there, then I'm in such a better place. I'm a better football player because of it. And that's not to say, I think when people hear that, they think that they come up with these like illogical things of like, well, if football is this and family is this, what are you going to choose? You know what I mean? Like it has to be one of the two, and it doesn't have to be one of the two. Like these things all exist together.
Yeah.
No greater story than has been like we've talked about how you partnered with me throughout my entire career since we've been together about how much of a partnership football is to like an accessory onto marriage.
Yeah.
You know, like it is a piece, there's a job as a part of marriage, which is a part of like our, reflection, our relationship with God. Right. And all those things are connected to this pillar.
Yeah.
Right. And all these things are accessories off of that. And they all exist together. And it's not that one can't exist without the other, but those all need to be in harmony with each other. And that's when I feel like I'm at my best.
Yeah.
And
which I feel like Super Bowl run, one of arguably like the best seasons of a receiver all time. You win a Super Bowl, you're the Super Bowl MVP. That year, the sacrifices that were made off the field at home, Cypress was not sleeping. Like, I wasn't sleeping, you weren't sleeping. Cypress, our middle son, wasn't sleeping. He was young, obviously, under 1. But there was so much outside of the football field that was going on in our life that people had no idea.
Oh, yeah, you're still,
obviously, and being able to balance all that.
Exactly. You're still, at the end of the day, you're still a husband, you're still a dad.
Yeah.
Those things don't stop.
I remember videoing, we did a little video for Cooper that year, just some people in his life who we were talking about, just let's do a little video for Cooper for the end of his season. And there was just so much, I think, on my mind that was outside of football. I was just so proud of you for who you were as a dad and a husband. And the things on the football field were incredible that you did those in spite of all of the chaos that you had at home. And it was really beautiful to watch you so gracefully balance those things.
Thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome. But the journey to the summit.
The journey. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that is it though,
But you've
because
been there.
yes,
You've balanced, you've done, you've walked the line.
yeah, yes, and that's I think the thing is even in that being exhausted and going through that stuff because we were going through it together, and like being able to like even just in I remember like times there's for every one of like there's frustrating times where we're both exhausted at 3 a.m. trying to figure out how to get this child to close his eyes and just sleep, right? Like, but there's also times like we're both up at 3 a.m. and it's like you can't help but just smile at each other and be like, "Wow, like this is insane." Like we're going through this, but we get to go through it together. And it's like those things, like the partnership of it, and being able to, embrace the fact that we're both here, and that, you know, yeah, this dude will not sleep, but eventually he's gonna fall asleep. Eventually the morning's gonna come. Eventually he's gonna be out of this phase,
Yeah.
and eventually, at some point, we'll sleep through the night again.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, but you did all that, and then you were able to also do what you did
Oh,
on the football field that year.
yeah.
And I think that's what people don't realize is like
Yeah.
the years that some people have, like the best seasons of a quarterback, of a receiver, of a defensive end, whatever it may be, like those years they're not taking off from their
the rest
personal
of their
life,
lives. Yes.
like those years they're having them in spite of whatever's happening off the field. And I think that is where you then are like, okay, I'm going to be living regardless.
Yeah.
So I might as well have a balanced, fulfilled
Yes.
life off the field also.
Yeah.
And still, like, that's when you're going
No,
to
exactly,
have.
and I think that goes back to like where's your identity? Where are you? If people that get stuck in this place where like, because there are people, like there are unfortunately people that do take those times off, right?
Yeah.
Like there are unfortunately people that do decide that they're gonna take time off from being a dad, and it's really sad just to see that time that people are gonna take time off from being a husband. And where's your identity at? Who are you? And when it's all said and done, you look back, like who is this? Who is that going to be when that time is done? The time that you've invested. And I know when it's all said and done, like football is going to end at some time. At some point, football is going to be over. And if I look back at that and I'm like, man, I am not the father that I want to be, and I'm not the husband that I want to be, that would crush me. You know what I mean? Like that would absolutely destroy me. And I know that those things have so much more weight than the football player that I'm going to be. It is going to be something that we got to do all that together. I knew when I did get into the facility right after the Cypress was up all night, I knew that I could be there. I could be at football and be present in that, because I wasn't worried about, man, things just aren't right with me and Anna, I just don't feel like Cyprus is in a good place, or like my boys, I'm not like worried about that, because I'm like, we are so together and we're so in this that I can be here now.
Yeah.
I can be 100% present in what I'm doing here and give my best to be the best football player I can be. And as soon as I'm done here, I get to go home and I can be right there and be 100% the best dad I can be, the best husband I can be. And that is an incredible gift, and it's a very freeing thing, I think, for me to be able to move into work and have that freedom. You talk about like people that do take that off. I think it's a question that I asked myself coming into the league, and something we've talked about is to be the best in sports, to be the best in any sport. Think of all the greats across all these different sports. Do you have to sacrifice your family? Do you have to sacrifice your relationship with your kids? Do you have to sacrifice your relationship with your spouse to achieve that thing? Can you be the best in football and still have all of this that is so important? And I think it's very hard. I'm not going to name names, but you look through history, it's really hard to do. And I know that whatever it ends up being, I know everyone steps on the field with the goal to be the very best. If If it's not your goal, I think you need to switch things up a little bit. But like, you should have the goal to be the best that you can possibly be for yourself, for your teammates, for your team. And I know that that's my goal, but I would never sacrifice being the best husband, being the best dad, to achieve that. You know, and like, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear people's thoughts on that. Like, can those things coexist with each other?
Yeah. I appreciate our time together before professional football, because I think that our foundation and just being able to have some time and sort through certain things before we were catapulted into just professional sports, and even knowing each other and being married, having that foundation. Some people don't get that at all. Not even that they don't know their future spouse, you know, they're not married yet, but they don't even know them, you know, they haven't met them.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out, okay, well, I was doing this by myself and solo, and I had all of, you know, my routines, and this is how I lived my life, and now I have to completely change it. And then from the spouse's perspective, how are you going to fit into that, you know? And it's just really difficult to do regardless. And so I think I appreciate the fact that we had that foundation before, and we have grown into what we do now, you know, and it's been growth together and not separate. And I just think that is really invaluable.
Yes.
You know, so it'd be interesting to hear other people's perspectives, but from ours, I think we're really lucky in that way.
Very lucky to be in that. That's a great point, because I think everyone has their process, the way that they work through things, and having that change. And like, you know, when you get married, you become one. This is your life together now, and sacrifices are made on both sides of that to make that, you know, what is this new life going to be? You talk about, like, you know, that year, you talk about the journey of what that year was back in 2021. And I think that's such a powerful thing that happened, you know, going through that experience was, you said, being able to get to the top, being able to achieve the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And, you know, I'll get back to like the analogy that I got, that eventually I ended up getting to as we like processed this. But I remember sitting up here in our office, and we're looking at some of the photos that were up on the wall, and just thinking through, you know, all these like memories of that season, and, you know, the parade, you know, celebrations after the game and things like that. And you're like, man, how fleeting are those memories? You know, so cool to look back on. But those memories and those feelings of what it was at that moment of like mission accomplished, right, is such a fleeting feeling. And it eventually led to this analogy, like, where I'm thinking, you know, as we're looking at those photos, it isn't those are great things to look back on. They're pictures. I'm glad we have those, because it's like good to look back on them. But I'll always look back on that year and the journey of what the culmination of what that was, the relationships that we had, the new people that we're able to meet that are now a part of our lives, our growth as parents, our growth as husband and wife, my growth in, you know, as a football player, you know, with learning the game in a different way, seeing a new side of football, you know, the ups and downs and struggles of that whole year. And it's like climbing a mountain, and you get to the top of that thing, and you finally achieved it. You've gotten to the top of this, you've summited finally. You get to the top and you look out, and all you see is off in the way far distance another mountaintop. And if your whole being was focused on this moment of getting to the mountaintop, how hollow that feeling is of getting to the top and just seeing another mountain. But when you think about when your joy was in the journey of that traveling and climbing and toiling over and over again to get to the top, all of the problems, all the conflicts, all the things that had to be overcome to get there. And like, man, this was such an incredible journey to get here. How much excitement you have to see there's another one.
Yeah.
Like, I get to go after that now, and this journey to go, boom, I get to go move forward to it. Think about the people that set this, like, I wanted to win a Super Bowl so bad. Like, it's all about this moment right now.
Yeah.
And you get to the top, and it's like, oh, there's another one. That's so far off, you know? And I think so many people fall into this trap of the destination being what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And you get to the top, and all you see is another destination. There's just another one out there. And people chase that over and over and spend an entire lifetime chasing that. And you get to the end of your life, and you're like, even if you do it, you look back and like, God, I got all this stuff. But you found no joy in all of these moments, these fleeting moments that were gone in a snap, are all you're holding on to. And you're holding on to 8 of these fleeting moments.
Yeah.
Instead of the years and years of opportunities to impact people and their relationships and grow from all these different things.
Yeah.
And
or if you never make it, and the fact that then you're like, my life was a failure.
Yes.
You know?
And you say, my life was a failure because I didn't get the thing.
Right.
And you've lost the journey completely. Man, that's it would be such a difficult thing to be in that place. And so many people, I think, fall into that.
Yeah.
So many people fall into that place and are walking around now. And then not only that, but then the people that are sitting at home afraid that they won't get to that place, and are like the fear of failure and how much that discourages you from just getting something going. You know, like put your foot out the door and go for it, because this is the part, the going for it is the part that you need to like enjoy. This is the part, this is living. This is the part, like, you get to grow and see so many things. It's the grind, man. It's the grind. And don't get lost. Don't get lost and not set foot and go do it. And I just think, you know, people that do go that route and get discouraged. I think of so many people that, you know, like our pastor actually just said it, something like this the other day, but like, around the corner of discouragement lives destruction, right? And people get discouraged. Right around the corner is destruction. Do not allow yourself to live in this place of discouragement without moving past it, right? If you're going to live in that, you are right around the corner from destruction. You got to be able to move through it and move past it. And there's going to be disappointments. There's going to be discouraging moments, but it's just a part of the journey to get to where you're trying to go. Enjoy that.
That's good.
Enjoy that process. I think something else that you brought this up actually about the luster.
Yeah. I think just like the living and life, like, for especially when you have little kids, you know, and you're like watching their daily life, you know, most kids aren't living life, you know, stacking blocks to some huge goal that they're trying to work towards. You know, they wake up every day is a new day. Every day they just live, and they're living that day for that day. And it's a really sweet thing to see. But I also just think it reminds you that life is supposed to be lived with a luster and a joy, and just like that twinkle in the eye that's like, I just love living this life. And there's not this discouragement or fear that you're failing at something, you know. And while they don't have a career and a, you know, you are stacking blocks, but being able to live your life with a joy and a luster for what you are stacking for. I think that is the key.
And wherever it is that you're doing, and it's not, I mean, I think a lot of things that we are obviously going to talk about our life, relate back to our life, but it is for everyone.
Totally.
It is the call of society to lose yourself in whatever you are doing.
Totally.
And that if you don't get results now, that you failed and you're no good. And I think it is such a wrong mindset to have. And I think that childlike mindset of waking up and just excited for the day to go do whatever, like work towards something today. And regardless, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be things that don't go well, but you're working towards something, and continuing that growth mindset.
Yeah, and just like nourishing that, growth. And just like, I think something that we talk about a lot, a common theme in our life is just nourishment and the growth that happens in not only our physical body, but our mental, emotional, just like our kids, the, pod, our family, the growth that we have, and just nourishing that daily and being able to live from a nourished, fulfilled place. And then you can go and you can grind because you have been nourished and you are full.
Filled.
I think a lot of that mindset comes from being on the other side of stuff also, which might lend itself, if you haven't had a certain success, it might be harder to come to the other side of things, look back and say, wow, like I did all that, but I'm so glad that I also enjoyed it because it was so fleeting.
Yeah.
And being able to have the mindset of like we're sitting there, we're taking a second after the Super Bowl, we're looking at these pictures at like how incredible the ride was. Like, you just won a Super Bowl. Like, that's crazy, and so rare to be able to do that and say that. But also, if that was all that you were chasing, how empty life would be, because it was just a moment in time.
Yeah. I think also you like look back on like in 2018, if you want to talk about specifically to like the journey being the focus, right? Like 2018 was start off as a very solid year. We had a really good team. I go through a series of, tear my MCL, concussion, tear my MCL, tear my ACL.
Yeah.
Season's over. But there was still it didn't stop there. And there was still that can be a very discouraging place to be in, a place where like your team's moving forward, but you're not able to participate in it, right? But it's still like the understanding that this is part of a journey. It doesn't stop here. Like I am discouraged because I'm hurt, but I am encouraged because I get to go after this thing. Yeah. I get to rebuild myself. And, I have so many football examples. Football gives so many examples, I think, where there's times where there's discouragement, there's setbacks, there's things where that tell you could stop. Like, you failed, it's over, you're done. Yeah. But there's just continue to push.
Yeah.
And go through it. And I think, like with kids, it is one of our greatest challenges, I think, is teaching our kids that it's okay for setbacks. It's okay to fail. It's okay to go for something, and it's okay to not be good at something right away. And it comes up in our life all the time. And being able to say, like, this is something that is going to take time. This is something that you are a work in progress. And getting that through through a kid's mind, I think is a hard thing.
Yeah. But it does come through experience also. Because like you're talking about with your ACL, like being able to be in that moment and be like, oh, your season's over, and the team is still continuing on. And I think for me, being able to work through amongst all the things, like June was 3 months old, 4 months old. I was having to be a nurse, like there was, you were in pain. There were so many external emotions that you're like working through, and then to just watch football on Sunday as if nothing had happened, and our world is like completely turned upside down, and just that realization of like, oh, like it's still going to continue, whether we are there or not. And how much weight that took off of me, in the sense of like, this is important, but this isn't the main thing.
No.
And the main thing is the main thing, and being able to then like release some of that, pressure of like, football is a huge part of our life, and I love that it is, and it's going to come and go, and I want to, like, I love it because I get to experience it with you. I love the things that we get to work towards, you know, the achievements that you are working towards, and that everybody gets to in, you know, their field of work in their life, but being able to do it with you, to have our kids, and to be able to experience it all together. I think that realization of like, this is what is fulfillment to me.
Yes, it's experiencing it together because it is going on, and I'm so thankful for you in those moments of your attitude through that, which has certainly sustained me through dark times. In that we can now look back on that in a positive light and be like, oh, that wasn't just miserable hate section of our life, but something that we get to like look back on and be, you know, happy to look back on and be like, man, that was really hard. We did it together. Yeah. You know, and we were able to enjoy parts of that together.
Totally. And there was so much growth, you know.
Yes.
And there wouldn't have been had we not gone through that.
Exactly. Okay. We're going to move on to something more serious here. Okay. And this is moving off of football. This is moving back to our lives a little bit. So we end our days, we get to dinner, right? We've been all over the place. This is, don't say anything on this. This is serious.
I'm not going to.
But we have a conversation at night with our boys. And we just ask them, you know, what are some of the hard things that you had to deal with today? You know, what are some hard things you had to either overcome? What are some, you know, hard things that, you know, maybe you didn't deal with very well, or that you accomplished, something that was really hard for you to get done, but you accomplished it. And we try to have these conversations with the boys at night just to kind of hear where they're at with things. And I think it just has good conversation comes up from it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to end some of these things.
Mini-sodes.
Mini-sodes. We're going to end some of these mini-sodes with hard things. So I came across this quote. I would like to say that I don't know who said it, but it was in my notes. And if you go through your notes, you're going to find some gold. And this is what I found. This quote, which I think is something that I want to discuss with you real quick. Okay, here's the quote. "It is easy when you are young to believe that what you desire is no less than what you deserve. To assume that if you want something badly enough, it is your God-given right to have it." I'll go first so you can think about that one. And so you can kind of stew on it a little bit. But I think this is interesting because I think there's two kind of schools of thought on it, right? Like, I think the freedom to dream for kids is paramount. I think you look at our boys. I would never, if they want something, I say go for it with everything you have, right? Go for it with everything that you've got. And I would like, you and I, we want to be there to help you in that. Like, how can we find ways to foster, you know, opportunities for you and to like walk alongside you in those things, right? But at the same time, you have to be okay to fail, and that just because you care about it and just because it is something that you're passionate about does not mean that you're going to succeed in it, you know, and finding that balance in kids. And now granted, our son is 5 years old, and currently if you ask him, he wants to be a ninja, and we're doing everything we can to foster that. Anyways, but as they get older, you know, like that's going to change. There's going to be things that he's going to want to pursue and go after. And so I think this idea of going after something and believing in your heart that it is yours, but also having this humility to say, if it's not, maybe it's not right now. You know, maybe it's something that there's growth that needs to come from this, or there's something behind that curtain, you know, that you've got to work through that's going to point you in a different direction, you know, and being able to adapt off of that. But I just thought it was a very interesting thought that I think a lot of young people now do struggle with, because I think the big E word of entitlement is something that is front and center in today's world. And this kind of lends itself to it. Just because you want something badly enough, it is not your right to have it. but you have every right in the world to go after it.
Yeah. I think that like two things come up for me in just, I mean, there's a lot surrounding it, but like the desire and when you're deserving of something. So like those two, like mutually exclusive, but like where are your desires coming from? Are like, and are your desires going to change? You know, what is the motivation behind the desire also? And I think just understanding the desire of it and being able to sort through that. And I think as parents of young kids, wanting to parent them in such a way that their desires are pure and that their desires have motivations that are coming from a positive place. And it is like purely their desire, not the desire because, oh, I want my friends to like me, or I want to be seen in this light, or I want, you know, the outside motivations of things, but having it be a desire that, you know, it's coming from a place inside of them and a passion that is truly theirs. And then also like the other part of that, like when are you deserving of something? You know, that's I think a nuanced thing.
That too. Is a very that I think is something when you have, I think when you take the right heart, and I think the word humility comes back here. Like, you know, what are you? What is anyone deserving of? Right. You know, I think once you say you deserve something, you're in dangerous territory, right? I think that is something we kind of have dealt with little kids. Like, not fair. Things aren't fair. Nothing's fair, you know. But I think it's understanding like this is kind of this kind of the point. Yeah. This is like, you know, there's a mindset shift that needs to happen, and I don't think people are deserving of a lot of things that they think they are, you know. But you can certainly work to earn your way to certain things. You know, I think it's like are you on the front end of looking at this as a proactively, or are you reactive to it? You know, are you working towards something to earn the right to do something, earn the ability, the opportunity to be here, or are you looking on the back end of I think I've already done that and I deserve it, right? And I think once you start saying I deserve it, that's when the I've arrived mindset starts to happen, and you can kind of get into a tough place there.
I think a lot of it is just about enjoying the journey and process. And I mean, I know that's how we think about a lot of things, which is probably why my mind goes there. But like I said, your desire it's going to be, you know, flexible a lot of times. So being
able as you grow and change, that's going to happen.
I think you want growth. Yes. So hopefully they do change.
Growth mindset. Always. So in regards to that, earned versus deserved. People know about me because I've talked about it before, but we were both people coming into high school.
Wee little lads and
lasses. And, you know, it's well documented. I'll just say it again for those of you that don't know. But, you know, I weighed in freshman year on the scale, 119 in jeans, covering my ankle weights. I was 115, 2-pound ankle weights. I hadn't graduated to the 4-pounders yet. But my attitude was that I wanted this thing, right? I wanted and really knew, right?
When you had this desire.
I had a desire, but it was also like believe, like this thought here, like to assume that if you want something badly enough, right? Like I wanted it, but it wasn't just wanting it. Like I believed that this is what I was going to do, was to play in the NFL, play football. But at no point, not at the end of my freshman year, coming back and just having basically didn't develop any relationships with new friends, but just worked. I worked really freaking hard, right? Before school, during school, walking around looking like not the coolest kid with my ankle weights on. I'm after school working out. I'm running. I'm setting up cones in the public parks. Right. I'm running home from school. Mom's coming to pick up my backpack. Like. But at no point during that journey of high school where it was just how much better can I get did I then say, okay, I'm there now. Like I've done enough. Like I've arrived, and now I deserve to play. Right. Like then it was college, and in that same way, you get to college, and the first thing I hear, the first murmurs I hear, are that I'm never gonna play there.
Never gonna see the field.
Never gonna see the field there. From our coaches, they didn't tell it directly to me. I heard it through the back channels, but those were the words. And then it's like, well, I know what I believe, but I'm gonna keep earning it. I'm gonna go out and keep earning it and keep working towards this thing. And I had another opportunity. I'd earned in high school an opportunity to go for it still at Eastern Washington, right? But I didn't stop. It was like, now I'm going to go earn it again every day. I wake up, I'm going to earn it. When I put my head on the pillow, I'm going to know that my dreams, the things that I see that myself achieving, and all these things I want to do are reflected in the last 24 hours. You take a snapshot of that is reflective of someone that wants to go play in the league, right? And I did that every single day consistently, boom, all the way through. You were a huge part of that. We got married in college, and you got to see that, and then partnered in it with me to help me go through that, and the sacrifices you made through that as well. And for both of us there, it was earning it over and over and over and over again. You earning it with me over and over and over again. And then I got an opportunity to go play in the NFL.
Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't I got drafted and you made it.
Right.
Right? It wasn't like I've arrived. It was just like another start.
Yeah.
Look at this. I got another opportunity. How can I go earn it again every single day? Yeah. How much better can I get? And you were with me on that as well, in seeing the sacrifices that we had to put in to make, playing in the NFL a reality, and continuing to play and playing at a high level. And, I think that's the difference. Is like, I've never stopped this mindset of earning. Every year ends, and I feel like, there's just a little more. There's more we can do. I got to go earn it again. I got to go find a way to be better for my teammates, for my coaches. And that mindset, I think, is the difference. I don't deserve anything. Yeah. I never deserve any of the stuff that's come my way. I didn't deserve the opportunity. I didn't deserve Eastern Washington. I didn't deserve the NFL. But I worked to earn an opportunity to go attack it. Yeah. And it's like that mindset versus the backside of that.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if you didn't get an opportunity, like, do you think that you deserved an opportunity?
Yeah, and that's exactly. And I think that's the
like, there are other people who take the same approach, who do the same things,
without a doubt,
who don't get the opportunity. Do you think they're deserving of an opportunity?
Yeah,
I think
and that is. I think that's a great point. I'm not trying to say that
there's
no one else
involved. Also,
oh, there's certainly
a lot of times
there is luck, and there is also. I'm not. I know that I also, like, my parents didn't make me work in high school. I didn't have to find a summer job. I got an opportunity in the summer. I just played football. I worked out. I did the things that I wanted to do, and a lot of people don't have that. Yeah. And I also know there's a lot of people that came alongside that allowed me to do some of the things that I did. And there's going to be people that have worked that I'm not going to say no one's ever worked harder than me.
No, totally.
I think, I look at my younger brother, Kettner had opportunities. He earned opportunities all the way up until the NFL, and it didn't work out for him, but he worked very hard and he had opportunities. But there's going to be people that don't get the opportunity to do what they're passionate about. But I don't think that should change your mindset of, well, what are you going to earn next? Yeah. What are you going to go earn next then? This opportunity, this didn't work out for you. Yeah. But what are you going to do next, and how are you going to keep this mindset of, I'm going to go earn something else now? I'm going to go earn something different.
So if opportunities don't come, how do you deal with not feeling like it's a failure?
Well, I think that's the thing. It's the process, right? As all this stuff, I had this dream to play in the NFL, and I was lucky enough to be able to, like, get to that place. But even if all that stuff, like, if that it didn't work out, I enjoyed the process of that every day. There was sacrifice. It was really hard, but I enjoyed every day. Like, there's very few days that we spent here that I've woken up and not been excited about the day. You know, what I get the opportunity to do when I was in high school, when I was in college, whenever, I was excited about being able to go and attack something, to go after it with everything I got. And you know, I think when your goal is the destination, that can be a really hard thing, right?
Yeah.
If you want something badly enough and you're stuck on this, that is the thing that is going to give me the fulfillment, is
Right.
that thing that I want. And you forget all about the journey to get there, all about the process it took to get to that place. You are setting yourself up for failure. And failure is really getting to that place and not fulfilling it and not having fulfillment from it, right? It's not so much that you didn't get there, it's that you got there, you didn't get it, and you feel like it was empty.
Yeah.
You've lost, and that you lose your joy in that thing that you've had this passion for is now gone, because this journey that was all this time that was spent with people coming and partnering alongside of you, or all the things that you poured into yourself. And if you didn't enjoy any of that, if you can't take anything from that journey, you know, then that is going to feel so empty at the end. And I think that's the big thing here is, you know, what you want out of this really needs to be about that journey to that destination.
Yeah, for sure. Are you saying this is a daily grind?
How we harmonize it. I'll do the low harmony. You do the high harmony. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that.
Go ahead.
I'll do it. Okay. All right. Minisode 1 completed. I'm Cooper.
I'm Anna.
This is a daily grind.